You sound like Mickey Mouse.
Tried to do my falsetto voice. It didn't work. I know. Anyways, we're doing the Bee Gees. How many other bands do you know where the lead singer used falsetto voice? I mean, I know I've heard
Axl Rose. Oh,
I've heard Prince do it in Kiss.
Speaking of Mickey Mouse, there's a video that shows Axl Rose then and now. Well, he's in his 60s. So they show him doing like Welcome to the Jungle way back when he does Welcome to, and then they show him now, he sounds like Welcome to the Jungle. He sounds like Mickey Mouse, everybody says. So. But I mean, he can't get that high anymore.
Yeah, well, once you get older, I don't know. He's not as old as like some of the bands we've done. REO Speedwagon, I said. Kevin Cronin looks like a grandma, sounds like a grandma. So when he does his music, he does sound like that. Like he can't hit those notes anymore. Anyways, but Bee Gees, what they had like almost every song. That's what they went with. At least
for the later disco era.
I mean, once they got to that, they didn't go back.
Yeah, now, before the 70s, I actually didn't care for them.
No, I listened to all their stuff.
People liked different music way back then.
And I can tell you this, nobody liked them. Because they really didn't get popular until way later. I mean, they had a few hits. How Do You Mend a Broken Heart? Which I didn't care for, but that was a *1. They had a lot of #1s.
Now, before they were called the Bee Gees, they were called the Rattlesnakes. Not sure why.
I don't know, but you know what's interesting? When they were originally the Bee Gees at the beginning, they were not just a trio.
Yeah, there's 5 of them. There was a drummer.
That's interesting. Because, I mean, they still had to have other musicians, otherwise they can't put out music.
But 2 of them play guitars. I think Maurice plays the bass, but the other 2 play guitars. And
one of them plays
keyboard. Then Maurice and Robin play keyboards, I believe. That's what it was.
Yeah, so it's weird kind of seeing the later music, when even though they can play something, they don't play anything and they're just standing in the middle of the stage doing nothing.
Now, I don't know when our first intro to them was. I do remember Beavis and Butthead. They watched Jive Talking. I don't know. We probably heard of
that. That couldn't have been. Because I know we had to have seen Airplane before Beavis and Butthead.
Oh yes.
Right, and they have that famous scene where he has a flashback in that bar.
With the disco.
Staying alive, and the guy gets killed, and he's like doing all these dance moves. He's not doing dance moves.
She's trying to point to a knife in his back.
She thinks he's doing dance moves. If you haven't seen Airplane, that's a good movie.
He throws her.
Took her off
and then waits for her to come back down. That's pretty cool. And that's, of course, a parody of John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever.
The movie Airplane is not just that scene.
Yes.
Airplane is a takeoff of zero. I can't think.
0 Hour?
0 Hour. Yes. 0 Hour. Okay, which I saw. It was interesting to see all.
Which has the same dialogue.
Yes. Okay, so before we go into Bee Gees trivia. One question though. Maybe I'll get 2 trivias. Before Michael Jackson's Thriller, what was the all-time best-selling album of all time?
Was it the soundtrack to Saturday
Night Fever? Yes. It was Saturday Night Fever, which technically is that a Bee Gees album? I mean, they don't sing every song on it.
No, they're involved. They said they didn't start the music until after the movie was, so it was post-production. So John Travolta's not even dancing to the Bee Gees songs. They added that post-production. He said he was dancing to who did he say? Boss Skaggs and so
Yeah, and there is one song that the Bee Gees do sing, but was not released. It was sung by a woman, and her version went to #1, I think. It's not You Make Me Feel Like Dancing. That's Leo Sayer.
No.
I forget what the song.
If I Can't Have You.
Yeah, If I Can't Have You, sang by a woman. And that was a hit for her. But they still sing it, but it wasn't released.
Barry Gibb, Barry Gibb had 5 songs on the top 10 that he wrote at one point. I think 1978. I think that they also had like 10 hits in the top 100.
Oh, they had so
At the
many
same
in
time.
a row. They're like Paul Abdul before Paul Abdul. They had so
Yeah.
many every song they put out for 5 times.
He wrote
was
Grease.
a number one.
He wrote Grease for
Grease.
he wrote a song for Andy Gibb. Andy Gibb is their younger brother.
Died
He
first.
died when he was only 30 years old.
Yeah.
And it's all Victoria Principal's fault, is what I heard. And
Is she the girl from Remington Steel?
I think she was in like Falcon
Knots
Crest or
Landing.
something.
One of those. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
a lot of women.
But I think they broke up and he was depressed about
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
it. He didn't commit suicide. He did do drugs a lot through his life, and he had a heart, something with his heart that, and the drugs had something to do with it. But he also had a virus, and it contributed.
Okay.
So
So we've already done the Beatles.
yes,
Now we're doing the Bee Gees, and we'll eventually do the Beach Boys. There's like a span of
Oh, yeah.
bee bands that were popular with different genres. Anyways, the Beatles. 3 interesting ties to the Beatles.
yeah,
Okay, one is first, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band.
yeah. They played the band. They played the character.
So that was a
movie.
Beatles song, but their movie. Second,
It's based on the album. Songs on the album.
okay. Second is Lulu. She was married to Maurice.
Okay.
Right, and the year after they divorced was when she sang "The Man with the Golden Gun." By the way, they survived the 4th worst train derailment in British history.
Okay.
That's what it said, based on the amount of deaths apparently on the train. So they're lucky to be alive. Okay, and then the last one, songwriters. Okay, so you just said he wrote a lot of songs. There's only one guy who was a better songwriter in history, and that's Paul McCartney. And you knew that because it had to have been a Beatle with the many hits that they put out.
There is tied to George Harrison
Okay.
from I don't remember. He did the soundtrack to a movie called Wonderwall.
Yes.
It was offered to the Beatles.
Was it?
Yes, and they turned it down.
Yes. Probably a good thing.
The one with the character that
Does anybody know what
yeah,
Wonderwall
the
is?
character named Penny Lane. So
Yes, which is funny. I didn't say this during Paul McCartney's days, but they sang the song Penny Lane, and then when he went solo, he had a keyboardist named Denny Lane. Spelled differently, but still. Okay,
and if I can't remember if I just said this, but Barry Gibb wrote Grease for Frankie.
yes, yeah. So, and that's one of my. If you were to say, hey, let's watch a John Travolta musical, I'm taking Grease over Saturday Night Fever.
Valley. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
And of course, the best part of the song Grease, and I don't think Barry Gibb wrote this part, is the horns at the beginning.
Yeah.
I can listen to that part, and then it goes on.
That still plays on the radio. I
Yeah.
like hearing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't know if you have to tell me if they get royalties for the slogan for texting.
What's the slogan?
Stay alive.
Oh.
Don't text to drive. Do they? They
Well,
should.
no, because their song is "Staying Alive," not "Stay Alive."
Okay. Blatant ripoff.
Okay, so Bee Gees. Their name is the Bee Gees, and
Right.
actually, growing up, one of the things I thought was it meant brothers Gibb. I guess a lot of people thought that, but the reason it's called Bee Gees is another guy named him. They went to Australia.
Okay.
They met a guy named Bill Gates, who was a DJ.
That's funny.
Not the Bill Gates.
multiple.
There was another guy, and I think he owned a racetrack or something. And his name was Bill Good. So 2 Bills, Good with an E. And then, of course, in the Bee Gees was Barry Gibb. So there's 3 guys with the BG. So they're like, hey, we're the Bee Gees. Because we all... That's
Were they
their
part of the
initials.
band?
Huh?
Were they all part of the band?
No. They weren't part of the band, but they all known each other. So that guy said, just call them the Bee Gees.
And Maurice and
That's the reason
Robin
why.
were like, we're not Bee Gees.
Yeah.
By the way, those 2, twins.
Okay.
They look nothing alike.
Yeah, they don't.
One was balding and the other had bad teeth.
All three has. Barry Gibb has, of course, the beard. So
I'm surprised. So Robin was the one with the funky teeth.
probably yes.
I'm
yes.
surprised that he had himself a semi-successful solo career. Because when you watch him sing, he looks like he's not very confident. He's like, man, I wish I didn't have these teeth. This is my opinion, anyways. Okay, and obviously their popular movie, Saturday Night Fever, did have a sequel called Staying Alive, right?
Yes.
Directed by...
Did John Travolta direct it?
No.
No. Oh wait, no. Henry
Stallone.
Winkler. Oh, yeah,
Sylvester Stallone.
I don't remember.
Really? Frank, his brother.
I forgot who it was.
Frank, his brother, has a small part in it. And Cynthia Rhodes, who went on to do Animotion. Or not Animotion. Yeah, Animotion. You're right.
Roseanne.
Yeah, okay. All that to say. But I would have thought Staying Alive was their biggest hit. But it's not. Night Fever was the one that was at number one the longest out of all those hits. That surprised me. But I do like Night Fever.
I believe Saturday Night Fever soundtrack was on was number one for like 25 weeks.
Yeah. So somehow Thriller beat it.
Yeah, and now a lot of people will say, "Well, they brought disco in," but no, it was already past. It was actually dying, and this just brought a resurgence.
Yeah.
to
What
disco.
I could not find the real history of disco, like when it started. I have no idea. Of course, you have to sort through all the crap and like, this is boring.
No,
history.
If they did not get into disco,
They would have been a floundering band and they would have never gone anywhere. Yeah, so,
and then of course disco died.
they saved disco and disco saved them.
Yeah, disco pretty much died, and they kind of died with it. They didn't really have a resurgence.
Speaking of death, Barry's the only one still alive.
Yeah.
Incredibly, he's the oldest. He's the oldest, but he lasted
first
the
one,
longest.
I want to say, was Robin. 2003.
Yeah, Robin died first.
And then Maurice was in 2012.
Okay. Yeah, so Barry's still going strong. I'm sure he's had one of those hoaxes where people said he was dead. Those happen all the time. Most recently, like I told you, Paul Simon had a hoax on October 23rd saying he was dead. He wasn't. So, yeah, but Barry, he obviously the leader. He looks the coolest. So to have him singing in a falsetto voice, you would think that would ruin it. Hopefully he doesn't really talk like that. How's it going, Barry? I'm okay. How are you?
And there is a TikTok on there where like the three are singing
Okay.
Stay Alive, and they're like, Stay Alive. And then a guy comes in and knees him in the crotch, all three of them, and then they redo it and they're in the high voice.
I've never seen that. So he did it low first.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
because you know that's a joke. If when somebody gets kneed in the crotch,
Right. Suddenly they
then
can speak.
suddenly they're a
They
high
can
voice.
speak as if they sucked in a helium balloon.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so I'm not gonna go through the albums because I think what was their first 9 albums did nothing, and their first big hit to me using the falsetto voice, Jive Talking, because they were floundering, and then that song brought them back, Jive Talking. Then a few years later, they had You Should Be Dancing, and then they did the soundtrack.
Well, I thought their very first hit was called Spicks and Specks. Isn't that what it's called?
Maybe. was it a hit or just a song?
I think it was a hit. Maybe it's just an
Yeah,
Australian.
there's some awful titles out there for beginning bands. Okay, so but after that, even after the soundtrack, the Spirits, I can't remember the whole title, the one that said Spirits, and it was in the top 10 of that year. Had the Tragedy song, 3 number 1 hits on that album. So they were still going strong even after the movie soundtrack. But once they hit the 80s, they went bye-bye. Till they had You Win Again. I told you I like You Win Again. Wasn't a number 1 over here. I think it was a number 1 over in the UK. And then a few years later that they had one, which you liked. Wasn't a number one. I think it was a number 5. Interesting that they can have a song on the charts at the same time Van Halen and Sammy Hagar. Just like longevity for them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we get into our top 10, we are also going to include, I don't know how many.
Yes.
Yeah, many, but they
The solo
All
career.
3 of them have solo careers.
Did they? I don't think Maurice did.
They all did. Doesn't mean they all went well.
Okay.
But,
Robin, who had the bad teeth, he had his own solo career. I didn't care for any of the songs. Maurice, I don't remember seeing any of his go out.
no, I think the biggest hit was probably Barry Gibb when he was
With Barbra Streisand.
Barbra Streisand. It was
2
her album.
songs.
Her
2
album.
songs. Yes. So, okay.
Those will be included.
So let's go ahead and get to those. Top 10. Honorable mention. I have 1. You have 2. One of your 2 is 1. Yes, I did that on purpose.
They have a song called One.
I don't remember what album it was, but it's pretty good. You know, it might be the last time they were in concert together was
Okay.
when that came out. I couldn't find anything after that. And then also Paying the Price of Love, that was also one of their latter songs. It might have came from the exact same album as that. The one that missed for me was The Woman in You, which was another duet with Barry and Barbra Streisand.
And you can't name a song of that nowadays.
The Woman in You.
Yes.
Now, you could. It just doesn't mean what you think it does.
Right, yeah.
All right, so that's our honorable mentions. Number 10, which I put at 10, you put at 12, coming from an album called ESP, which was that Extra Sensory Perception?
Yes.
Not ESPN, not the Sports Network. It could have been Sports Network because the song's called You Win Again. Yeah, snappy song to me. Came out in 1987. So yeah, when Richard Marx was putting out his first album, they were having a hit. So how about that? This song only went to number 75 in America. So we apparently didn't care that the Bee Gees are still around. All right, number 9, coming in from that Spirits CD. You'll have to check
What the title is
what
called.
the title is because I'm going to
Yeah, I'll
keep
put
saying
it
the
on the video.
Spirits. Okay, this song went up to number 1, so 7 of our songs were number 1 hits. So for the most part, we're right. This was number 1 for that Spirit song. I had this one at 13. You had it at 8, and that's Too Much Heaven. We were talking about Almost Heaven,
Yeah, we were talking about the ice cream almost.
Oh yeah. This is Too Much Heaven. Did you need more ice cream? No, too much.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 8, coming from Barbra Streisand's album, only went to number 3, which I'm surprised. To me, I'm surprised because it's not just they take the singing lyrics, but doing bouncing around with the word guilty.
Yeah, I really
Guilty.
like the music and behind it.
Yeah. And I had this one at 5. You had it way down at 13. So we haven't done Barbra Streisand yet. She had her time. I don't know that she was really considered an 80s artist. I think after this album, she might have went away. I mean,
No, she's on a lot of lists of people's greatest singers of all time. I know that.
yeah, but like when she first came onto the scene, was she already known as a singer? Or was her first thing as acting?
I don't know.
With Funny Lady, right? Or Funny Girl, one of those
Funny girl
two.
first, funny lady
Yeah.
second.
So, and I remember I saw A Star Is Born. She was with Chris Christopherson. So eventually we may do her. When she dies, we'll do her. Because this song was in 1980. So technically she has a hit in the 80s. All right. Number 7 from that Spirits CD. Also a number 1. Love You Inside Out, which I have at 9. You have at 6. And how do you love somebody inside out?
You have to take them through that teleporter from The Fly. Remember that?
And suddenly they're
Inside out.
they're on the outside. There you go. Okay. Number 6. Finally, we get to a song that's on the Saturday Night Live soundtrack, or Saturday Night Fever. That's easy to do. Let me just tell you.
Yeah,
Say
yeah,
Saturday
yeah.
Night Fever.
And Saturday Night Live, yes, yes.
Number 1. I have this one at 6. You have it at 7, and that is How Deep Is Your Love? Any jokes? Now, I mean, I guess you guys, there is a thing saying, well, yeah, if you're superficial, you're also called shallow.
Yeah,
So, yeah, you do want your love to be deeper.
yes.
Yes. Like, what's her favorite color?
Yeah, so my
What's your
love-
favorite color? I don't know.
Well, yeah, so how deep is your love? If it's shallow, if she looks, that's as far as it goes.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Okay, number 5. Believe it or not, this song, it was on the radio, but it didn't get ranked. And it's from Saturday Night Fever. I have this at 7, you have it at 5. And this would be More Than a Woman. Which again, tied into today. you got extra appendages. You're more than a woman.
They're not- but only to me. More than a woman to me. Everybody else, you're just a woman.
All right, that's not what they were thinking though at the
Yes,
time.
yeah.
Like Barry Gibb probably knows about this because he's still alive, but the other two are like, really, people think that way? They're dead, so they.
Yeah, they
it's
didn't
not
experience this. Yeah.
Okay, number 4, coming from Children of the World. I almost thought it was a
Corn? I thought you were going to say Children of the Corn.
That movie's got a bad rap. Also a number 1. All the rest of the songs were hitting number 1s. All right, coming in at number 4. And by the way, the rest of our songs all hit number 1 in the world. So this comes from Children of the World. Not Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was another conversation we were having. It's You Should Be Dancing.
Which did not come from the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, which amazes me because that movie is about dancing. You'd think that song,
Maybe that's what got them pulled into it because they sing about dancing.
yeah.
Both of us put this at number 3.
Is dancing the fever is what I want. I'm assuming the dancing is the fever. Saturday Night Fever, I feel like dancing.
Probably. Maybe it's going to the discos. I don't know.
It's a night fever, right?
Yeah, this would have been our earliest song listed on our thing. We did not put Jive Talk in.
Can you imagine getting up out of bed? You're like, I'm sick. What you got? I got the night fever. All I want to do is dance. You have to go to the doctor and tell them stop it.
You just did that. Who does that when they dance?
Yeah.
Of course, there's a lot of weird dances. Just think of all these moves. You know to dance. Why then suddenly go the Charleston?
But if you went to the doctor as a joke and you're like, Doc, I can't stop dancing. And would the doctor say, oh, you obviously have night fever. I don't know.
And I mentioned this already. Leo Sayer, he had You Make Me Feel Like Dancing.
Yeah.
But they said you should be dancing. And there's a lot of people out there that should not be dancing. Seinfeld reference to Elaine. Okay. Yes. Number 3. Coming from Saturday Night Fever. And yes, everyone's going to say we're wrong. Staying Alive. At 3. Song probably plays the most out of them, right? For them. I have this at number 2. You have it down at 4.
Because night fever, I don't know if you knew this, is also fatal.
Is there an actual thing called night fever?
Yeah, like, take these pills if you want to stay alive. I was like,
Staying alive. Now, what is dancing
have to stay with staying alive. Right.
It's like
It's like speed.
right. I was just saying that.
If you go under 50, the
Muscle
muscle blobs
explodes.
are here. If you stop dancing, you die.
Well, there's that movie with Jason Statham. Right? He had to
Crank,
keep,
yeah.
He
yeah.
had to keep his adrenaline up.
Yeah.
So yeah, there needs to be a movie like that. I'd watch that movie. If you stop dancing, you will explode.
Remember,
Throw that out.
I know you'll remember this. Tim Conway, he was a comedian. Remember he had Roll Freddy Roll, where he could not take his roller skates off. I think
Yes.
he's trying to break a record or
Right.
something.
That's actually a TV movie. Did you
Yes.
see that?
I've seen it since.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that good.
I'm not sure that I'd want to watch any of his movies anymore.
Yeah.
Other than Private Eyes, Prize Fighter. That's about it. Okay, 2 more left. Number 2 also came from Saturday Night Fever, and it is Night Fever. Now, that's in the title of the movie. Could they not sing Saturday?
I don't know.
Can you get the fever on
On a
any
different
other day? Does it only have to be on Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. You have this.
Yeah, okay, so Sunday is your day of rest.
Okay.
And Friday you just came from work. You're tired. You don't want to go out. So
Yeah. Who's dancing on Friday?
so I guess
Especially
Saturday.
we see those TikTokers complaining about even having to work a 9-to-5 job, and it's actually like more like a 12-hour job because they have to take
Yeah.
the subway home.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so and they don't have a life. All right, but you had this song at number 2, and I had it for. But yeah, Saturday Night Fever. Okay, it's either a fever you can only get on Saturday, or what is there an or?
You're the one that started that.
Why not put Saturday in the title if it's not just Saturday? Called the movie Night Fever, but then it looks like a horror movie. Right? You can't have John Travolta in there. Although, just like those YouTube videos where they remove music, somebody's probably put Saturday Night Fever as a horror movie somewhere, right?
Yeah, people do that. Where
They'll
they
make
do
a comedy.
trailers with
Yes.
everybody. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a tangent.
It sure was.
But anyways, that was their longest number 1. As I repeat that, Night Fever. But that one I rarely hear. I only hear Staying Alive. And the last,
Now, I know that the fact that wasn't our number 1 is a tragedy.
wonder what our number 1 is.
Tragedy.
And you know what? We both put it as our number 1.
Yes.
Yes. And I do. This is.
I thought this song was. From
I
the
would
80s.
actually say. So you said start off with Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
We had a neighbor who probably had this album because we'd go down to the basement and play Legos and dominoes and stuff. I remember this being on the radio when we were downstairs playing. So this is probably our first time where we heard the Bee Gees. Whether we knew it was the Bee Gees or not, Tragedy was our first time we heard them. That's what I say.
Now, was this song in the 80s or was it 79?
79.
I
So-
thought so. I don't know, for some reason I thought it was the 80s song.
Yeah. And so after that, then they tailed off. He did his duet, and then, hey, whatever happened to the Bee Gees? Who knows? Okay, this one came from that Spirits album, which you forgot to look up. But that's all right. You'll put the name above our heads. All right, so that's our list. Because we are claiming that the 80s is the best music, I say that's the music that came out of the 80s.
I mean,
Tragedy is the closest to the 80s.
yeah,
right?
our number 1 is the closest to the 80s.
You know what? I should look at there is actually a website called Top 40 Weekly. I just found this a few weeks ago. It lists every top 40 that has ever been. I mean, talking way back to the 30s till now. Somebody did a lot of research and puts which each song shifted every single week. It's like, holy cow, that had to take a lot. But you could probably find out Tragedy was probably still on the charts
In the 80s.
In the 80s. So, anyways, that's our top 10 for the Bee Gees. Do you agree? If not, then you were definitely a 70s person.
Yeah.
And you like
Definitely not our first 70s band that we did. I mean, we did Led Zeppelin. So,
Yeah. Well, a lot of the bands that we've done delved into the 70s before the 80s.
Yeah.
But Yeah. Next week, we hit somebody who I think they actually did put some songs out in the 70s, but we had no idea who he was at that time. Not until around the mid 80s. And then he talked what I'll give this hint. He had three of his most popular songs are very long titles. Matter of fact, the second part is always in parentheses. He has a lot of songs like that. Okay, and his initials are B.O. So we go from B.G.
Like Benjamin Orr, but not Benjamin Orr.
Yeah, we can only do one album for him. So this guy, his name is initials are B.O. Figure that one out.
Where did he come from? Is he from the Atlantic coast or the Pacific coast? Sort of it. All right, till next week.
See you.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.